Listen, what was the original deal? You come, you have to go upstairs. Okay, go upstairs. Hashanabi, Derek Gagi. You have to come on. You have to go upstairs and come from the down. Come from the up to the down. Oh, Dilma, no, the upstairs guys can say to him. What's the says? Come on, he says. Aliyah Kabbalah. The deal was that I have to walk up one flight. Okay, but not Aliyah. But you really have to walk up a flight and come down. That I never do. Look at it. I never took that. So you have to walk. You have to let me in the front door. In Tim we do look at the light. If you say what he has the right to listen, I've right to use the doors because I never accepted to go up and come down. Well, let's take these cases. Let's say there's 3 floors in this house. And what? So Al Gabzu Mahu. There's two, the floor 2 and 3 above floor 1. If the guy's living upstairs on the 3rd floor, if Yona and between the 3rd floor and the 2nd floor, the floor gave out. Nachis with David Tachdonos, he goes and he lives in he goes and he gives in the 2nd floor, and he doesn't have rights, okay, to go live down the downstairs. Ivchas, okay, Tachtonama. But what happens if the other way? If he's living on the 2nd floor, and the 2nd floor breaks. Now, what's the rule? Does he put him upstairs or does he let him downstairs? He says, "Lemislak legamri bel Yona." Or you take out the word legamri. Lemislak le Yona. Should he go upstairs? Do we say what? The Amalek can say to him, "Listen, Shem Aliyah Kabbalah Salach." He says, "Look, you accepted to live in upstairs. What's living upstairs? 1 floor, upstairs, 2 floors. Go up to the 3rd floor." No, maybe the guy says to him, "Listen." He's living on the 2nd floor. He says, to go up 1 flight, I agree. And we'll go up one. Yeah, stay Aliyah. So I didn't agree to go up to 2 levels. I don't agree. And the answer is what? To all these questions, we let it stand. But we said we have machlokas in the Mishnah. Tanakama held what? That the downstairs guy is responsible for everything, and Rabbi Yossi says no. The downstairs guy is obligated for what? For the actual ceiling or the floor, but he's not obligated. But not for the plaster that goes on top of it. Okay. Now we want to know my tikkun. Well, what is that? We're going to read like Rashi. What is the floor? What is the ceiling? What is it made of? What is it that if the downstairs has to put the floor? What is the floor? Okay, Rabbi Yosef, or the ceiling? Pardon me. Rabbi Yosef Chanina says, what is this? Okay, it's a mat that's made out of reeds and thorns. In other words, on top of the beams, it goes without saying that there's beams there. You understand, to make the floor. There's beams to make the floor, but then there's to fill in the whole thing. Yeah, it's filled in. It's filled in with this mat of thorns, etc. Okay. Stini. Okay, this is another Chacham says what according to Rashi. Omar, he says Rav Shimon Loki says no. He says Levachim. Okay, no, you have to put actual boards of wood. You know, saying beams of wood.
Support weight without the.
No, there was no question that there's beams. The question is what's in addition to the beams. What goes in the middle? That's exactly the point.
Above the beams.
Yeah, above it, earth to fill them in the beams. Okay, so and there was and the rest of there's no argument here. Markiasve or Markias. Each one was just explaining how it was done in their particular place. So okay, now how do they trade? Now hold your hat on. We're going to see how do they trade. There are 2 people that have direct. One guy was living. No, 2 guys. They took a house or they inherited and they divided up. So one guy's downstairs, one guy's upstairs. They each independently own their place. Okay, one upstairs, one downstairs. So now what? The plaster, the covering on the ceiling of the bottom one that covers the floor of the 2nd floor. Okay, it got a hole. Kimashi, it eroded. Yeah, Kimashi Maya Eloi. So when the upstairs guy would wash his hands, the water would come down and hurt the bottom guy. Said the rule is what Elyon Mataki says. The upstairs guy has to fix it. Okay, Rabbi Yossi he says no. He says Takti. So the downstairs guy is Mataki. He has to fix it. But Simon, and the way to remember is what? Who said the downstairs guy? Since the pasuk says the Yosef Hurad Mitzrayim, and Hurad is what is Tatoi is going down. And Yossi is like Yosef. So what? So it's Rabbi Yossi who said that's the downstairs guy. That's what I remember. It's the downstairs guy. Now we're going to assume the Gemara is going to make an assumption here that this machlokas, okay, is the machlokas of the Mishnah, and stick close. And the machlokas is in a very special case. In other words, the whole Mishnah was only in one case. The Mishnah wasn't talking in general. If who's responsible for the upstairs and downstairs. Now we know who's responsible for the downstairs. One thing, what the Mishnah knows, what the Mishnah was arguing, who is responsible to take away damage? Why is that? Because we have a rule. We're going to see in a second. We have an argument. When 2 people live on their own property, I live on my property. I have my property. I'm allowed to do what I'm doing. You're getting damaged. Yeah, that's your problem. I'm on my. If I was on your property, one thing. I'm on my property. Or if I was directly damaging you. But if I'm living normally on my property and indirectly you get damaged, it's your problem, not my problem. The other opinion is no. Listen, no. Even if you're living on your own property, you can't do things that even directly damage me on my property. We're neighbors. So that is the famous machlokas. So the Gemara says, Lemo Rabbi Chia bar Abba Eloi. Let's see this argument of whether the downstairs guy has to protect himself from the water, or the upstairs guy has to protect the downstairs guys from his water. But Pukti of Yosef Rabbanan, they're arguing exactly the argument of Rabbi Yossi and the rabbis. Why? In our Mishnah. Why? Because let's see, what's the argument in our Mishnah? When Rabbi Yossi said in our Mishnah that the upstairs guy is responsible for the plaster, what do you mean to say? The upstairs guy is to protect the downstairs guy from the damage, from his damage. And the Chachamim who say no, it's the downstairs guy's responsibility. What do they believe? They believe that it's the downstairs guy who has to protect himself. He has to protect himself from the upstairs guy's damage. Lamanda Amar Lamanda Eliyahu according to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Abba, who said what, that the upstairs guy has to protect the downstairs guy from his water. Okay, we're talking Kosaber Alamazik. He holds what, that the damager has to in his even his own property. Okay, he has to separate himself and not to hurt the damagee. Okay, and what and Rabbi Eloi, the name of Chia Bar Yossi, who said what, that the downstairs guy has to fix it. Where what? He holds what? No, as long as the guy's on his own property, you the damagee on your property, you have to protect yourself. You have to distance yourself from the damage done by the other guy living normally in his property. So therefore, what we said, we said that that's their argument is the same as the argument that I Mishnah. So the Gemara says, look, it can't be. It can't be that the argument that our Mishnah is on private property, when people living on two private properties. It can't be where the argument is whether the damager has to protect the damagee or the damagee has to protect himself. Why? Because we're going to see in a minute, we learned that the opinions of in our Mishnah, the rabbis of Yossi are exactly the opposite. You thought in our Mishnah what, that Rabbi Yossi holds what, that the damager has to protect the damagee, and the rabbis hold that the damagee has to protect himself. I'm going to show you it's exactly the opposite. But Tizbor, does it make any sense that Rabbi Yossi or Rabbanan in the Zaki Pliga, you really think that our Mishnah is talking about who has to protect who on adjacent properties? It can't be. It can't be. Why? Because we know their opinions on who has to protect who in adjacent properties, and it's the opposite of what it would be in our Mishnah. But we heard exactly the opposite. Okay, why is that? At the time, because we learned earlier. You have to keep a tree away from a cistern. From a water. Keep it 25 amas away because the roots are going to go in and ruin the cistern. Shikma trees have very long roots. Okay, you have to keep them 50 amas away. Okay, it makes no difference whether the pit, whether the cistern is high and the tree is low. But why? Because the tree is still going to hit the cistern. Or whether they're equal level. Okay, but either way, and the rule is what? If the cistern was there first, okay, so therefore what? He has to take down the tree, but the owner of the pit starts to pay him because when he planted, he wasn't hurting anybody. So he starts to pay him for the tree, but he has to get rid of it. He didn't kill them, but if the tree was there first and then the guy built the cistern, he doesn't even have to take it down.
Still has
no, he doesn't have to take it down. No, he doesn't
have to cut it down.
He doesn't have to do anything. If the tree was there first, he doesn't have to do anything. The guy made his own problem by digging the cistern. But if we don't know who came first, the cistern or the tree, it's also when you're in doubt. Not only when the tree came first doesn't he have to cut it down, even when you're in doubt, he doesn't have to. Why? Because it's a mozzarella, right? The proof is in the other guy. So that was the opinion of the rabbis, right? The opinion of the rabbis was that you cannot plant the tree on your property and damage the other guy's property. Rabbi Yossi says, no, even if the cistern guy built the cistern first, and even though the guy planted the tree afterwards, he doesn't have to cut it down. Why? This guy's digging his place. This guy's planting his place. Alma, you see clearly Rabbi Yossi you see clearly that Rabbi Yossi holds in general what? That the damagee on an adjacent property has to protect himself. Rabbanan Sabri Shalom Mazik and the rabbis hold what's the damager. But in our Mishnah, if you thought that the Mishnah was talking about damages, it would come out there. Yossi says what? That the damager, the upstairs guy, is to protect the downstairs guy. So it can't be that our Mishnah is about what? Is about damages. Our Mishnah must be the simple rule of what? Of who's responsible for what in general, not about damages. So you're stuck. So the Gemara said, what? But you know what? Still, but I says, but I can show you what. Okay, but anyway, even so, we still can say what? We can say that what? That, but we can attribute the same argument of the Amoraim that we said above, just reverse the opinions, and they can still match up to the opinions of Rabbi Yossi and the rabbis. We do know, just before when you proposed it, you also thought Rabbi Yossi and the rabbis were arguing who has to protect who, but you thought the opinions were reversed. So just reverse the opinions and still match up the two Amoraim with Rabbi Yossi and the Rabbanan, and you're still in business. Okay? You can say they're arguing, but pluk the Rabbi Yossi Rabbanan Da'asam, the same argument that we said about who has to protect who, and that's what the Amoraim want. So now just to reverse it, Rabbi Chia Bar Abba, who said what? That the upper guy, who's the damager, has to fix it. So he holds like the rabbis who hold that the damager is responsible. Okay, to protect the damaging in adjacent property. And Rabbi Eloi, in the name of Rabbi Chia Bar Yossi, who said that the downstairs guy has to fix it, which is the damagee has to do it. So that's like Rabbi Yossi, who said what? That the damagee has to protect himself in adjacent properties. Rabbi Yossi Rabbanan Dacha knew. And now what are we going to say about our Mishnah? So I already intimated that to you before. But my plea is, what is the argument? The answer is no, it's simple. They're simply arguing bechozek tikra kamifligate. Okay, whenever the ceiling, okay, the body, between the two things, okay, who has the upstairs guy wants the downstairs guy to fix it. So okay, who has to strengthen it? Rabbanan Sabre, the rabbis say what? Maziva arzuke tikru. Since the rabbis hold that the lower guy has to do it. Why? Because since he has to build the ceiling. So is the maziva, is the plaster strengthening the ceiling or not? So really what? So the rabbis hold what? The downstairs guy has to take care of it because he holds that's how you keep the ceiling strong. You have to put the plaster. For sure, the downstairs guy is the one who's responsible for the actual partition. Is his responsibility. The structure, that's his responsibility. Rabbi Yossi, why does Rabbi Yossi say no? The upstairs guy has to take care of it. Sobar maziva, okay, ashvuya gumas. He says that the purpose of the plaster is not to strengthen. It happens to also strengthen, but it's not. You don't need it. Yeah, you can keep it strong. You can keep it strong with beam. The real purpose of the plaster is what? It's just to fill in the cracks, to make it even. To make it level. That's the upstairs guy's responsibility.
Because if it has a dip,
yeah, it's his problem.
Will puddle there.
Well, we're going to see in a second. It's his problem. Now the Gemara says, what do we do when the upstairs, when the upstairs, when the plaster is starting to erode? Okay, so we said that we have a problem. How can you tell me that Rabbi Chia Bar Yossi said that the downstairs guy has to fix the plaster? Okay, yeah. Because he holds what he holds. Because
49 states hold like Rabbi Yossi. Florida holds.
He has to protect himself. Okay. Rabashi says what? Okay. Didn't Rabashi say? When I was by Kahana, Rabbi Armin, they used to say, "Modi Rabbi Yossi." Even Rabbi Yossi. That it says that there are times that even though Rabbi Yossi seems to hold in general that the damagee has to protect himself in adjacent properties, there's times when he holds also what? Oh, that we for sure he agrees that the damager is a little bit. Like I told you, when it's his arrows, you can't tell me if you're shooting arrows on your property, the other guy has to protect himself. When do we say the other guy has to protect himself? When you are indirectly, you're living normally, and then indirectly it gets the other guy. But if you're shooting at him, you're responsible, not him. Okay, so how can you tell me over here the guy's pouring water down to the other guy? How can you tell me Rossi holds it down to the guy to protect himself? The other guy's pouring water. I'm like he's shooting arrows at him. The answer is what? The paske mai, you make a mistake. It's not coming water directly down like through a hole. Rather, what? The water is first. The water is first. It accumulates where it is, and then it seeps down. Then it seeps through and goes down where it's eroded. So that's not considered like an arrow. It's considered indirect, just like the tree. And Rabbi Yossi indeed holds what, like we said, and indeed holds what that the damagee has to protect himself. Two guys have the upstairs and downstairs, yeah, each one, okay, and the whole house fell down. Amar Balalia Balabai said, no. So the upstairs guy says to the downstairs guy, no, let's build a house. He says, the downstairs guy can't say to the upstairs guy, you want to build it, I'll build mine later. He has no place to build it. But who Edarotzim knows? But the downstairs guy doesn't want to build. So what's the upstairs guy supposed to do? He can't build in the air. So the first opinion is the upstairs guy builds the downstairs, and he lives there, and he lives there for free. Until the downstairs guy pays him for building the downstairs. And he pays him back. I'll build the upstairs. But it's mashma that he lives there for free. Rabbi Yehuda Amir, he says, what are you talking about? He says, Afzeh Dabatok Shel Chavero. If this guy's living in his friend's house, even though he built it, and even though the other guy has no loss, he has to pay him. Why? Because what? Because he owes what? If you get benefit from a guy, even if he has no loss, you owe him. And if you don't pay him, you're essentially getting ribbons. Why is that? He doesn't say no, he has no loss. No. Now we're saying no, there's no loss, but he owes him money, and if he does that, it's like he's giving interest. Why? Because by building the house, he's lending him the price of building the downstairs he has to do. And if he lives there without rent, without paying, he's getting ribbons. Okay. Eli, you have to say what? Baaliyah bonus abayis. You have to say what? So what do he say? You want to live there for free? There's only one way to do it. That's Aliyah. The upstairs guy has to take out a loan. He has to build the whole thing. He has to build both floors. He has to build the downstairs and the upstairs. And build the roof on top of the upstairs. And then he sits in the downstairs until the guy finally pays him back. And then he goes out and he lives in the upstairs. And that way he doesn't have to pay him. Okay. Now why is that? Why doesn't he have to pay him? Because the rule is what's we're saying? Even though we have machlokas, whether zed nehemet v'zelo chasros chayv or not. When I get benefit, he didn't lose. Okay, so we're going to say you took the aside that what? When you get benefit, even the other guy didn't lose, you owe him. But everybody, okay, that's an argument. But everybody agrees if the other guy didn't lose and you didn't get any benefit, everyone agrees you don't owe him. So over here, once the upstairs guy builds the downstairs and the upstairs, he has a place to live. So if he lives in the downstairs, he can live in the downstairs. But if he lives downstairs, then he's not considered getting any benefit. So he can live downstairs without rent. Why? Because he's not getting anything out of it.
As long as he leaves the upstairs.
Yeah, right. He's not getting anything out of it. Says the Gemara on Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yehuda. So the three places where Yehuda taught me what? That you're not allowed to take your guy's property, to benefit from your guy's property, even though he's not losing. You're not allowed to do it. It's not one. What we just learned, he told you, even the guy is not losing anything because he didn't build the house, you built it, but you still can't live in his house. Either, okay, Mahi, what's the other ones? The Tanan, what's place number 2? Because you learn. The guy gave wool to the dyer to dye. We told him to do it red. He dyed it black. Okay, he gave it to him dye black and he dyed it red. Meir says, no saying lo debate summer. All he has to do, listen, is pay him back. He says what? Meir says he just pays him back the price of the wool. Why? Because he's a thief. Turns out he stole it. Yeah, the dyer. Yeah. Why? Because the dyer turns out that he stole it. And as he changed it into the wrong color, he took possession of it. And every thief pays what? According to the time of the stealing. So he pays him back the wool and goodbye, Charlie. And he ends up, he's in good shape. He actually has a piece of wool that's worth more than what he paid. Because now it's dyed nicely. Rabbi Yehuda, he says, forget about it. This is place number 2. He says what? He says, he says, I'm sorry. He says, number 1, he says, we don't consider this guy is not a thief. He never meant to steal it, and he never meant also to acquire it with the change. And therefore what? But he's not going. We're not going to give him the benefit of his friend's thing. Okay, and we give him the lower hand. Okay, let's say no If what? If the accruement, if the improvement of the wool is more than the outlay, the guy only pays the outlay. Right. But if what the dyer paid was worth more than it improved, then he gives him the amount that improved. But the point is, we see clearly what we see that we can't make him pay. We don't let him pay for the wool and take for himself. Why? Because he's going to benefit from friend stuff without his permission. What's the third place where we see it? Mahi, what's the case? The Tanan, because you learn Mishapar makes a schova. Let's say a guy paid part of a loan, and he wrote a paper for $100, and he paid him $30. No, he paid him $50. So now, usually, you have to get back the paper or write a receipt. They don't want to bother. They say instead, because we don't want the guy to collect 100. He already paid him half of it. So we usually should start, instead of writing a receipt or writing a new star, he simply put the paper in the hand of a third party. So we'll know that per third party will be the protector to know that he's only going to collect 50 and not collect 100. But still, but you know what happened was the borrower said to the third party, if I don't pay you by a certain time, he says, Tainly a star, Tainlo star, give the creditor back the paper and let him collect the whole 100. I'll forfeit the other. I'll forfeit the other 50. He gives man below nasam. Let's say the time came he didn't pay. Rabbi Yossi says what? Yitay. Rabbi Yossi says what? He says he could let it give it to the other guy. Rabbi Yehuda he says, "What you can't give it to? Why? And why is that?" So it sounds like what? What's the reason he can't do it? Because he's not allowed to get benefit from his friend. To get benefit from his friend's money, even though the guy, so to speak, didn't agree to it. Amai, question, get out of here. Who told you, or Mimai, you have to say, who told you that's what happened over here? In all these three places, you think that what that the real reason is what? Because you're not allowed to get benefit? I'll tell you it's a different reason. Dilma, in our Mishnah, the reason why he said that the guy can't live downstairs and not pay, it's not true that the other guy didn't lose. The guy did lose. It's not you thought what that he's saying what, even though he doesn't lose, he has to pay him. No, he has to pay him because the guy is losing. That's why it's forbidden to do it. Why? Because even by living there, even though he built the house, he's going to give back a house where the walls are dimmer. You live in the house, you're blacking the walls. So he's not giving him back the house that he built. It depreciates. Inami, alternatively, okay, and the same thing by the second case. By the case of the dyer, let's call them. We told him to give dye red and he dyed it black. We show him to come a shana. The reason why he's paying is not because he can't get benefit. It's because we're punishing him. The rabbis are punishing him. What for changing? Well, it's not because we learned to call him a shana. Anybody who changes instructions of the owner, he has the lower hand. We're punishing. We're fining the guy. In the third case is also not because he can't take benefit for your friend's property. Mishapar makes a schova, the case where the guy paid part of the money and he put the paper into the third party. Said, "Nami, what's the reason?" You know, Rabbi Yehuda said, "What he can't give it to the guy." Asmachta, the guy never meant it. It's another one. It's the exaggerated claim just to put the deal through. It's an asmachta. He didn't mean it's like a bet. He says, "I'll do this. I'll eat my hand." He never meant it. But Shemina Rabbi Yehuda Domar. Okay, we know Rabbi Yehuda holds what asmachta the locality that asmachta is not a binding deal. So therefore, you have no proof in all these cases, right? No proof. We said the following: Tafton abol l'shanos. Okay, now stay close. This is just we're gonna really do the same thing over and over again. The simple rule is what that you cannot. You're going to rebuild the house. The downstairs guy, the upstairs guy. Anybody can make a change if it's good for the other guy, but nobody can make a change that's bad for the other guy. You can make a change if it's good for the other guy, but you can't make a change if it's bad for the other guy.
Without permission.
Yeah, without permission, obviously. So he said what? Okay, talk to an Abalashana. So okay, he says, let's say the downstairs guy wants to change, okay? And what and he wants big veal. In other words, he wants to change from dressed stones to raw stones, which are thicker. Show me low, okay? So we listen. Why? Because the downstairs guy is going to build a thicker wall, that's good for the upstairs guy.
Stronger.
Yeah. The guzzies ain't showing but if the guy wants the other, he wants to go from undressed stone to dressed stone, which is thinner, so it's to be a thinner wall. Ain't showing you won't listen to it because he's putting a thinner wall under the upstairs guy. Okay, let's say the other way. Again, the downstairs guy wants to change b'kfisim. He wants, instead of using whole bricks, which are a thinner wall, he wants to use half bricks, which are divided by inside with filler and cement. It's a thicker wall. Show me, love. We listen. But the downstairs guys want to build a thicker wall with half bricks and filler. But if he wants to go from half bricks and filler, a thicker wall, to what? The whole bricks, which is a thinner wall, ain't show me, love. We don't listen to him. Okay, let's say the same thing by Razin. Okay, he wants to make the ceiling, okay, with strong wood like a razim, okay, instead of like shikma, which is not as strong. Show me though, we listen to him. But shikma, but if you want to go from a razim, which is a stronger wood, to shikma, which is a weaker one, ain't showing that we don't let him do it. The upstairs guy wants a strong foundation. If the downstairs guy wants to make less windows, show me though, we listen to him. Why? Because it's a stronger walls. If he wants to make more windows, ain't showing you don't listen to him. Now, like Bia, Let's say the downstairs guy wants to make a taller downstairs, ain't Shamilo. We don't listen to him. Okay, why? Because the upstairs guy doesn't want to walk higher. Lemait, but if he wants to build a lower wall downstairs, Shamilo, we listen because the guy has less steps to climb. Okay, now that's the other way. Exactly the same thing in reverse. Al Yon Shabbat Shanas. If the upstairs guy wants to change the way it used to be, okay, and if he wants to go, he wants to Begazis, he wants to go from undressed stone to dressed stone, which is thinner. Shamila, we listen to him because he puts less weight on the downstairs. Big veal ain't Shamila, but if he wants to go from undressed to dressed stones to undressed stones, which are thicker, ain't Shamila. But listen, downstairs that's more weight on the downstairs. Big feasin ain't Shamila. If he wants to change from whole bricks to half bricks filled, which is a thicker wall, we can't listen to me. The downstairs guy doesn't want a thicker wall on top of him. Okay, Bilevainim Shamila. But if he wants to go from what? From half bricks with a fill, which is thicker, to just whole bricks, which is skinnier, we listen to him. It's less weight on the downstairs guy. But okay, again, Barazim, as the top guy,
wants to make his ceiling.
Yeah, he wants to make his ceiling Arazim, okay, which is stronger wood, which is heavier. We don't listen to him because he's putting more weight downstairs guy. But Shikma, if he wants to use Shikma for the ceiling, we listen. We listen because he's putting less weight on the downstairs guy. The same thing, the Rabbis Bechalonos, Shamilo. If the upstairs guy wants to make more windows, it's fine because he's putting less weight on the downstairs. The Mai Bechalonos, but if he wants to put less windows on the upstairs, then Shamilo, we don't listen to him. Why? Because then he's going to make more weight on the downstairs. Lagbia, okay, ain't Shamilo. If the upstairs guy wants to build higher walls, we don't listen, more weight on the downstairs. Lamait, if he wants to make lower walls on the upstairs, Shamilo, we listen, less weight on the downstairs guy. If neither the upstairs guy has no money, their house fell down, they have no money. They're not they're going to sell the land. What are they going to do? How do you divide it up? Tanya, we learned in the Brisa. Tanya, Rabbi Nassan or Rabbi Yossi says what? So how do they sell the land? What's the percentage? The downstairs guy gets 2/3 of the land of the price. The upstairs guy gets only 1/3. Other Achayim disagree. They say no. They said no. The upstairs guy gets a smaller part. They said the downstairs guy gets 3/4, and the third upstairs guy gets only a quarter. Rabbi says you should follow Rabbi Nassan that the halacha is what he gives 2/3. And downstairs guy is 1/3 the upstairs guy. Why did I know? Because he's a dayan, and a guy who's in the business. He knows he's the head of a basin. He knows what he's talking about. The noch is lumkedina, and he knows the reasoning of the halacha. Okay, and therefore what? Kasavar. Okay, and I explain to you what's it. We're going to tell you what's the svara that makes so much sense. Why is it so reasonable to give 2/3 to the downstairs guy and 1/3 to the upstairs guy? As truth is, I need help to understand a little better. But it says like this. Come up to the bias, okay? He says, how much is the weight of having a second floor on the first floor? It lessens the shelf life of the downstairs one by 1/3. If the downstairs would have gone 90 years, not only go 60 years. Tilta. So therefore what? Okay, Helkach Islay Tilta. Since the upstairs weakens the lower downstairs by 1/3, it makes sense that the upstairs guy's portion in the land is 1/3. Is 1/3 also.
He's made that the upstairs guy could have some of the land.
Yeah. Honestly, personally, I need a little help. Okay, Abba, say thank you. Thanks for bearing with me. I hope to have a Kiddush on Shabbos. It's early meeting.
Okay, don't forget tomorrow there's a CM 445. Okay.
Give your name if you know you're going.
If you know you're going to give it to me or Heshi.
Huh?
Okay. Rabbi, someone show him the way.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay.
I'll write it down.
Okay.
I'm fine. I'm running to the ophthalmologist because I floated 3 years ago.
To see him tomorrow.
Yeah.
Avada.
Yeah.
Survival. Yeah.
Wife's in Israel.
Mr. Everton?
Are we back our learning?
She's in Israel.
Oh.
Dale and Leslie.
Oh, your
Kaplan,
wife's not
and how many of the
She's in
parents?
Israel.
Hey, never.
Tell her to fly back
Yes,
and
it is.
take a
Bob,
second.
your wife coming?
Yeah. All right, wait a minute.
Bring your girl.
No, we got so far.
So Bob's wife is coming.
My wife will love that.
Bob and
You know,
Erwin and his wife.
Yeah.
Anybody have room in their car?
Sev is coming.
If someone has room in their car.
Marty is coming. No. Marty is coming. I'll tell you for his wife. You're coming with your wife. I'm coming with my wife.
All right.
Mordechai is coming with his wife.
With my wife, 4:30?
Yes,
What time you want to pick you up? 4:30?
And, it's,
What
I'm
number
ready
you want me to pick you up? About 4:30?
I'm in
Right,
1097 Yarmouth
Melvin,
Street.
go to the
Okay.
office, tell him to do the.
All the way at the end.
Yeah.
and, Heshy.
Waterside. So
That
4:45,
guy,
you say 4:30?
Four forty-five.
Okay.
45.
All right.
New house.
You wanna go at 4:30? Be my guest.
Right.
It's starting 4:45.
Yeah, we'll come a little earlier anyway, 4:30.
Not,
Ben
if you're
Hiller.
going with me, we'll be
Breakfast
there at
friends.
4:45.
I,
You
whatever
can
you
sit in the car for an hour, but we're going at 4:45.
want.
Okay, now.
What,
Menzo,
new house,
Mary,
this guy.
Ben-
Mortified.
Okay, and his wife.
You're happy with Maston to
Heshy,
4:30?
Yeah, but
You
that
would've
will
said
be
4
there at
o'clock.
4 after. No, you got it.
Hannah,
Although I will
Shoshana,
tell you, one
Boss,
morning he came
Yosef.
at
Friends
a
of Jack,
quarter
friends.
of to sit in the car. My wife
Yaakov,
went out to get the
Yitzchak,
newspaper and he was
Ben-Shmuel.
walking to the car. I was so proud of him.
Month of London by Jack.
Like,
Gilman,
well, I'm
remember
worried, he's
his
right up
But
there.
yesterday,
Carolyn Jackson.
I told him we'll go see Avi, who he was at my car,
Week of
that
London,
25
Bader,
there.
memory of her husband,
Sharon,
Michael Blair, memory of her
Okay.
father.
Oh, you got already Bloom also, okay.
There should be more.
When Shraga Feivel wakes up to go to a lunch,
Bruce Younger.
He's going,
Memory
he's
of
going.
It's unbelievable.
her father, Arya Leibalev.
He had
All
his
the
own
numbers
son.
and sponsors.
Yeah, but all of it's amazing. You invite him for Shabbos lunch, he's healthy. There's a see him, he's healthy. But all the rest of the time, he can't, he's sick.
Okay,
His dad was Minister Mayor last night.
last night.
Yeah, because he has to demonstrate his health.
All right, anyway, I
Go to the
guess
office.
the younger-
Are you going to the office? You're standing here talking.
I was.
No, we have to go home. Go to the office.
All the time he's in the rock.
I want to get rid of you.